But at the end of the day, you gotta learn from everything that goes on in your life and in your career, and hopefully we can learn from this and get better as a team and come back, and hopefully we can build a culture in Milwaukee that for many years that we can come out here and compete every single year for a championship.
This year was supposed to be the year for Giannis Antetokounmpo. This year was when it was all supposed to come together. He finally reached his potential last year when he won NBA MVP, and he was certain that the Milwaukee Bucks would do whatever it takes to put him in the best position to compete for a championship. And that was even further reinforced when the defending NBA Finals MVP took his talents to the Western Conference. There's now no LeBron James and no Kawhi Leonard in the East that could potentially get in the way of Giannis Antetokounmpo making it to the NBA Finals. The expectations could have never been higher for Giannis, and the Milwaukee Bucks did everything they could, or so they claim, to put together the best supporting pieces possible in order to help Giannis win a championship. But you see, they came up short, and there's a bunch of reasons they came up short, and a lot of the things that the Milwaukee Bucks say about it kind of contradicts what they are implying in this meeting. Now, what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here. Before we get to the content, I live stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 9 p.m. Pacific time. I'm probably going to be live after this video so we can discuss some basketball and whatnot. It's twitch.tv/FlightMike or just FlightMike on Twitch. And make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on my notifications. It's really important to like this video and subscribe to help the channel grow and to boost this video in the YouTube algorithm. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, but we got some pretty crazy news that is the latest update in the Giannis Antetokounmpo saga. And I originally heard this news yesterday, but I was waiting for some details to come out today so we could discuss it. And when I found out what the details were, I was kind of confused because for those of you guys that don't know how we got here, after an extremely dramatic past week for Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks that involved Giannis kind of affirming his commitment to Milwaukee, saying that he wants to stay in Milwaukee and to go through whatever road bumps that they're going through so they could potentially win a championship in Milwaukee. And it appears as though Giannis doesn't really care about anything else but winning. He doesn't want to grow his brand like Kawhi Leonard did when he left the Toronto Raptors.
What it do, baby? Yeah, you already know.
He didn't want to go back home and play for his hometown team like LaMarcus Aldridge did when he decided to stay with the San Antonio Spurs. Rather, he just wants to win a championship. And in previous videos, I said that if Giannis Antetokounmpo truly wants to win with the Milwaukee Bucks, he needs to start taking advantage of his power and his influence within the organization, because we've discussed this before, but according to Forbes, the Milwaukee Bucks almost quadrupled in value in Giannis's 6 years with the franchise. And for the most part, we could all agree that Giannis is the main reason for that. Giannis is the reason why the Bucks are actually a household name in the NBA. Giannis is the reason why they're the favorites to come out of the East, and everyone is disappointed that they didn't. And I said in the past that if Giannis truly wants to win, he has to show the Milwaukee Bucks that he means business, and he will leave if they don't put around good supporting pieces to help him win a championship. And honestly, last offseason, he did nothing of the sort. And as a result of it, the Milwaukee Bucks showed complete reluctance to dip into the luxury tax to bring back one of their most promising young players in Malcolm Brogdon. They just let him walk away, and it's not like they went ahead and signed someone better instead of him. They just came back and ran it back with a slightly less talented team than they had last year. which I guess we kind of ignored because, again, the East got significantly weaker with the departure of Kawhi Leonard. So I thought that it was completely doable for the Milwaukee Bucks to potentially make it to the NBA Finals, but of course we were wrong. Now, this culminated this past weekend, more specifically on Saturday, when Giannis Antetokounmpo made a brilliant chess move, in my opinion, by unfollowing all of his Milwaukee Bucks teammates and unfollowing the Milwaukee Bucks themselves on Instagram. He only follows his brother currently, and a lot of Bucks fans were telling me not to read too much into this, and he typically does this each and every year. Nevertheless, you must admit, that's pretty freaking weird. Right after you affirm your commitment to a team, to go ahead and unfollow your teammates and the Milwaukee Bucks off of Instagram, he's clearly trying to send a message. But here's the good news. It appears as though the message was very well received, because after this incident occurred, the owner of the Milwaukee Bucks immediately reached out to Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they had, according to this report, a 3-hour meeting. And in this 3-hour meeting, Giannis Antetokounmpo made it known what he expected from the Milwaukee Bucks moving forward. And it appears as though it's super simple. He just wants the Bucks to dip into the luxury tax to get him some help. And this could be good news and bad news, and I'll tell you how it's good and how it's bad. The good news is the Milwaukee Bucks might get some help, but the bad news is the most popular form of help that the general manager might go for, and I feel like this is such low-hanging fruit, and I hope this isn't what they opt for, is by trading Eric Bledsoe, Brook Lopez, and possibly another player for Chris Paul. And if you're going to trade for Chris Paul, you're probably going to have to give up a draft pick or two, because that's how Sam Presti operates. He's going to want draft picks for Chris Paul. And it's nothing against Chris Paul. I feel like this is the easiest way for the Milwaukee Bucks to say, hey, Giannis, look, we dipped into the luxury tax so we could help you out. But here's my issue with this. One, Chris Paul has the second worst contract in the NBA. The first worst contract is John Wall, by the way. And I guess maybe even the third worst contract, if you want to say Russell Westbrook's contract is way worse. But he has one of the worst contracts in the NBA, and it's not because he's bad. I don't think he's bad by any means. I think he's one of the most brilliant point guards I've ever had the pleasure of watching over the past decade and a half. I think he's a brilliant, pure playmaker that's an absolute savant at running the pick and roll. That's not my issue with Chris Paul. What I'm afraid of happening to the Milwaukee Bucks is pretty much what happened to the 76ers this past offseason when they opted to give Al Horford a large sum of money. That move literally set back the franchise. And again, the reason why I think this is likely to happen is because there are no good free agents this offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks to pursue. Like, literally, if you look at it, the best free agent they could probably go for is Andre Drummond and technically Anthony Davis, but I don't think Anthony Davis is going to leave the Lakers. And I'm sure you all agree. I really highly doubt Anthony Davis leaves to anywhere, but I could be wrong. So that's the first thing I think of in terms of a major way for ownership to tell Giannis, hey, we are committed to winning. Here's Chris Paul. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope Chris Paul joins the Bucks and Giannis and Chris Paul win a championship together, because I feel like Chris Paul definitely deserves it. But I feel like that's such low-hanging fruit and such a uncreative way to improve the Milwaukee Bucks. And it's such a risk. If it doesn't work out, then Giannis is going to leave and you're stuck with Chris Paul's contract on the books for the next 2 years. So I guess theoretically speaking, if it doesn't work out, you could also trade his great expiring contract at the end of the 2021-22 season. But it definitely would set the Milwaukee Bucks back for at least the 2020 to 2021 season if it doesn't work out. But the issue here is Giannis Antetokounmpo has 3 ways to go about this situation, if you ask me. The first one is, and this is probably the hardest thing that he has to do, is he's going to have to decide not to sign the Supermax contract and just play out his scenario and see whether the general manager of the Milwaukee Bucks is being serious, whether the ownership is willing to truly pay the luxury tax in order to help him. Or are they just bluffing? We saw what happened with Blake Griffin and the Clippers. They promised him that he'll be Mr. Clipper, then they traded him 4 to 5 months later. You can't trust these organizations. You got to do what's best for you. But how do you turn down the opportunity to be the highest paid player in NBA history when your stock is at an all-time high? Who knows? Maybe in a year or two, Giannis gets the Russell Westbrook treatment and he's deemed absolutely impossible to win an NBA championship with, and teams just opt to not build a team around him. So do you not sign the Supermax contract extension and give yourself all of the leverage going into the season to pretty much tell the Bucks, hey, if you don't give me a good team that can make a run to the NBA Finals, which isn't that much of an ask considering how weak the Eastern Conference is, literally the top 2 seeds aren't in the Eastern Conference Finals, it shouldn't be that hard for me to make it to the NBA Finals. So if you don't get me adequate help, I'm demanding a trade in the middle of the season. Or does he sign the Supermax contract extension and demand a trade, or says that he's going to sit out if the Milwaukee Bucks don't get him the adequate help he needs? He could play out the entire regular season and enter the 2021 free agency pool. And I feel like what he's going to do is not sign the Supermax contract extension and maintain leverage for as long as he could, because, hey, he could always sign a contract extension in the 2021 offseason. That gives him the most leverage out of all scenarios, and I feel like that's probably what's most likely to happen. So it appears, for the meantime, Giannis Antetokounmpo's decision is to stay a Milwaukee Buck. And I honestly think this is the right decision for him for now. If he doesn't sign a contract extension now, and he does it at the end of the season, he probably can make a little bit more money depending on how the cap rate for the NBA season goes up or down. It probably is going to go down. So it really depends on how this season shakes out. But for now, I really think Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks unless someone from the Golden State Warriors reaches out to him and convinces him otherwise. Because the only other team that I could actually see him going to, and this is only if he puts his foot down and demands a trade, is the Golden State Warriors. And a lot of people tell me, Mike, the Golden State Warriors don't have the cap space to sign Giannis. We're not talking about signing Giannis. We're talking about trading for Giannis here. And in this scenario, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis is disgruntled and Giannis wants to leave, well, a trade package that includes Andrew Wiggins, this year's number 2 overall pick, and maybe like a first round pick in 2024 and a first round pick in 2025 sounds pretty attractive considering the fact that you're kind of hitting a wall here and you won't have to pay the luxury tax too. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think is going to happen, because aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.